Ho ho, hold on to your hats. It's the holiday episode of the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my good friends Richard.
Hello, ho, ho.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Oh, howdy. Richard and Michael are putting their differences aside due to the holiday season.
Fuck that.
Oh, okay.
No way.
I'm wrong. Oh, I thought we were going to
Screw
put
that
our
guy.
differences aside. No.
You're done.
They're amping up their feud time for the holidays when we all come into close quarters and drink alcohol, perhaps eggnog with rum, and
Just rum.
Just the rum.
Just rum.
and we have the airing of the grievances. And this episode will be no different as we discuss the Mount Rushmore of holiday characters / icons. This was one that I chose, and I guess it's because the holidays, and more particularly thinking about Christmas in my brain, are rife with figures and characters that help us tell the story of the holiday season or help us celebrate the holiday season. Not to not include things like Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus and all these characters that are somewhat inventions that we center our entire holiday season around.
Wait, hold on.
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Did you call Santa Claus?
Richard didn't know.
What?
Well, it's just if it's an invention doesn't mean it's not real.
Okay.
Crisis
Okay,
averted.
Okay, good.
Crisis averted.
Woo! You had me worried there for a second, Jeff.
A good holiday story has good holiday characters, and that's the reason I picked this subject. So I would like to have you guys raise your hand high if you really believe in the spirit of Christmas. Okay, Richard. Okay, Michael.
It was very tentative by both of us.
Okay, Richard raised his first. So Richard, you go first.
All right, so my first one is in the category of Rankin and Bass,
Oh, awesome.
which I really could have done the whole episode on.
Yeah.
In fact, can we just start over and just do
It may.
Rankin
Who
and
knows?
Bass episodes,
May.
characters? No, Yukon Cornelius
Oh, cool.
from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
My favorite Rankin and Bass character of all time. Just barely ahead of Mr. Heat Miser. Yukon Cornelius is a badass.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. He is
Holly-
a man of mystery.
Hollywood's first bear, I think, could be shown.
No, you're thinking of the Bumble.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's different.
But I mean, look at the man. He is just a towering figure
Yeah.
of all that is man.
Yeah.
Just giant beard. I just remember as a kid watching this, and just he seems like such a blowhard.
Yeah.
But then it turns out
Why is he dressed like a
actually-
millennial?
Yeah. He looks like
He does look a
he
little
is,
bit like
looks like
one,
iron and wine.
all mixed together into one. Yeah, you spend the first half of the show thinking he is basically a giant blowhard, right?
Yeah.
Then it turns out, no, he's right. Bumbles are real, and they bounce, and all these things he's talking about are actually true.
Yeah.
One thing that I did in doing a little bit of research on this, so there's the scene where he throws the axe into the snow and picks up and starts licking it, like some sort of weird proto Yasiel Puig, like licking his axe sort of thing. And they go, oh! And as a kid, I always thought, you can find gold by licking ice and snow? Huh, that's weird. Turns out that the version that we're used to now is not the full-length version that originally aired. Because of longer commercials, they've had to cut some of the scenes out. And one of the scenes they cut out explained that Yukon Cornelius is actually looking for a peppermint mine.
Oh.
And that one of the scenes he actually finds a peppermint mine and starts like, I've been looking for this all my life. I'm going to be rich. It's a peppermint mine. Which is weird.
Yeah.
That whole show's weird. Let's be real about this. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, of all of the Rankin and Bass shows, even though a lot of the Rankin and Bass shows are really fucked up, is the most fucked up.
Yeah.
The Island of Misfit Toys. You want to be a dentist.
Yes.
There's so much weirdness going on. The Bumble, the fact that Santa Claus basically lets Rudolph be treated like absolute dog crap for the majority of the episode because he's got some sort of medical condition.
Yeah.
And then at the end, has to rely on Rudolph to bail his ass out. But Yukon Cornelius, for whatever reason for me, and this is just like a personal thing, I just remember as a kid just thinking, that's the coolest guy. I want to be Yukon Cornelius. He just didn't give a shit. He was out there, fighting Bumbles and then taming Bumbles, becoming Bumbles' best friends. He was just a badass. He's the most badass Christmas character I think ever.
He does seem like an action figure in the world of Christmas.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you need somebody to take on the Yeti. He's your guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so if Luke Skywalker were trapped in an ice cave, then maybe if he couldn't use the Force to get his lightsaber, Yukon Cornelius could come in and save him.
I think it's quite possible.
All right, Michael, what's your first?
Got to start off with good old Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
there we go.
he's, you know,
You said characters though, not.
Uh-oh. Icons.
Oh, okay, good. We're okay.
yeah. Good old Saint Nick, that fat man.
Yeah.
Love this guy.
I love this guy.
I think that the image of Santa Claus just in general is so... it's gotten to a point where it is right up there with the most recognizable things in the world. Like
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse, Santa Claus. Those.
Yeah.
Is there a third that is like, what else is... I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by how when a character becomes so ubiquitous, you can have it be something else and you still get it. Like, you might see Elvis as, scientist Elvis or...
Go check out the episode Mount Rushmore of Fake Elvises.
Fake Elvis, yeah.
For Stormtrooper Elvis.
The Santa, you definitely kind of see him in all these different iterations. It seems like for a cell phone commercial, you'll see the cool hipster Santa, the guy in the...
I was reading a little bit about there was like a theory for a long time for that Coca-Cola created the modern version of Santa, and reading like a Snopes article, basically they're saying that they really didn't. They kind of just helped create ultimately the most uniform version of Santa. Various versions of Santa Claus with the red jacket and red and white and the snow cap and everything. They're all basically, there have been so many versions of it. They didn't they didn't really they took from history, but they didn't really create anything new. They didn't create this image of him, but just that I guess they started trying to figure out how they could sell soda in the winter.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So they're like, well, because sales started to slip, so they had like this this campaign called The Pause That Refreshes, and it was an image of like Santa Claus basically getting a Coke. Yeah. And it kind of super helped their business, and he's been like a mainstay on their personal advertising for forever, for past 100 years it seems. But I think what Santa Claus, he can, like you said, he can be anything, whether it's like he's like a hipster version of Santa Claus. And I love when like nonsense conservatives get angry that Santa Claus is like Black Santa. When they're just like, this is not what Santa Claus. Oh, this isn't what this
fictitious
elf from the North Pole is.
Yeah, and you're protecting Jesus from this guy who's not has nothing to do with that thing. Yeah,
I do like that. Christmas and Jesus and all that has been intertwined, but Santa kind of still remains. Yeah, a little enough away that you're like, okay, he's his own. Yeah, he's his own thing.
Yeah, if Tim Allen, the least appealing person in working in Hollywood, can be in the Santa
Rob
Claus,
Schneider would like to have a word with you.
Can be transformed into Santa Claus. That means we all have a little bit of Santa in us, and he's very much an everyman kind of.
Do either of you have like a family tradition where you like play Santa at Christmas? In terms of handing it, like at events, Jeff is smiling way too big right now.
Yeah, he really is.
We're like, like someone is giving out the gifts to the rest of the family. Yeah. Usually in my family, it starts with one of the kids.
Oh, okay.
Like, God, I gotta think of one of my goddamn nieces' names.
Their role is to pass them out and
embody what usually happens is Violet starts, she passes them out, and then like 15 minutes into it or 10 minutes into it, she just gives herself a gift, and then the next gift goes to her as well. And then by that time, it's me and my cousin Olivia just like, okay, we gotta take over this. This is not efficient enough, and we got dinner to get to.
Yeah. Let's go.
What is it?
Wrap it
so
up, big boy.
I do find that fascinating to think of the iterations. There's Father Christmas and Père Noël and...
Yeah, it all kind of came out from like St. Nicholas and, kind of a German tradition of this...
And then the Clement Moore, the visit from St. Nicholas, isn't he a jolly old elf? Somehow he slides down your chimney.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like based on an elf. And then there's, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the David Sedaris story, the 6 to 8 Black Men.
No.
where he's talking to somebody in Holland about their holiday tradition. And according to the story, they actually celebrate something on December 8th or something like that. That's St. Nicholas Day. And St. Nicholas being the Bishop of Turkey.
Oh.
And according to the story, St. Nicholas will
It's called
show...
Nicholas Stog.
Yeah.
St. Nicholas Day.
He will show up at your house, and if you're a good boy, he will leave candies in your shoes.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not a good boy, him and 6 to 8 black men who are their versions of elves, who up until the 50s were actually portrayed as slaves. But then they realized maybe that's not so hot. Would show up, and if you're naughty, they would beat you with a swatch from a tree and pretend to kick you. And if you're really bad, they would put you in a sack.
Yeah.
And take you back to Spain.
Oh, wow.
Where he lives now. So Merry Christmas, everybody. As he says, and he says in the story, it's something like a mom. You imagine a mom telling a kid, "Now you need to get good night's sleep because the Bishop of Turkey is going to be showing up with 6 to 8 black men, and he may leave candy in your shoe." Or he may beat you with a tree swatch or pretend to kick you or take you in a sack to Spain. We really can't be sure, but you should really be ready for anything.
The winter really separates everyone. It really shows your mettle and your merit.
Yeah,
by the time December rolls around.
Yeah, I think of nothing harsher than Holland.
Richard, your second is what?
My second is the elf on the shelf.
Oh, wow.
We haven't gotten to this yet with our child who's
never do. Please don't.
By the time this comes out, he'll be just on the edge of 7 months old. But I'm prepared for it to be in my future. As I assume it's in your future or it's in your present.
No.
No, don't know.
Oh no! Without foot down, no, not happening.
Really?
No, it's awful. It's evil.
Why?
Look at the thing. Look at the guy.
Well,
Have you seen an elf on the shelf?
Yeah.
Have you seen the elf on the shelf?
Yeah.
He's horrific looking.
He looks like these elves that I've seen as like Christmas decorations for decades.
A good friend of Sarah's had one of those, and she would put it up every Christmas, and it would just scare the shit out of everyone who came over. Yeah, because elves are kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah, they're mischievous sprites in some cases, not necessarily helpful, friendly little dudes.
He doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, he doesn't look that good, but it's. This is like Big Brother come to life.
Is it?
I mean, Santa is kind of Big Brothery anyway.
Yeah.
Fat brother, at least.
Pretty good. B+.
Do you not like new traditions, newly minted traditions, especially those that are
I don't like the ones that are commercially...
Well, every damn thing about Christmas that we celebrate is commercial. It's entirely commercial.
But I guess this one is... I don't like the idea that... Well, first off, there's something a little creepy about the fact that Santa knows when you're sleeping and when you're awake.
Yes.
That's you're spying on little kids, dude. Mm-hmm. It's a little weird.
Yeah, that's where you get... It feels like a Grimm's fairy tales unpolished for Disney's
version of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now he's sending these little elves to sit on your shelf and literally be like his cameras.
Stalking is what it's called. Yeah.
It's what it's called. It's not stocking stuffers. It's stalking.
Stalking stuffers.
I applaud Santa Claus for trying to be more efficient in his fact gathering. What he whether to know you're naughty or nice or it's a busy time for that guy.
Yeah.
And if he's got he's basically sending out drones.
Yeah.
And if he's got to get his information any way he can.
Look, it's the 21st century. Yeah. Santa has our phone lines.
He's got an app for that.
He's got our phone lines tapped. He can bug our computer lines. He knows where our kids are surfing.
Yeah. Did you ever have a parent? My parents would pick up the phone and call Santa. If we were...
They threatened that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I remember that as a kid, and it was horrifying. Yeah. Because when you're a kid, as exciting as Christmas is, it's also horrifying.
Yeah.
There is terror built into Christmas because was I good enough? Is Santa even going to come? What if the reindeers crash? What if my mom calls them? It's like if you're already a person who is somewhat prone to anxiety and stress, like me waving my hand up furiously. Yeah. And I was like that as a kid. Don't add the extra pressure of this literal shelf staring down at you like a goblin for the entire month. Also, how about you're good all year, kid? How about you can't just save yourself with 30 days of good behavior?
Yeah. It does seem like conscribing a shift supervisor to look at you as a kid and doing your role as a kid and make sure you're doing it the right way for a whole month. And I do hear you. As a kid, you get paid 3 times a year: birthday, Halloween, and Christmas. And parents threatening the removal of that paycheck is the biggest fear.
It's basically like your boss saying, "Well, I got a nice Christmas bonus for you, unless this month you screw up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a camera right behind your cubicle for the rest of the month, and I'm going to watch you.
Yeah.
If you screw up, you're not getting that Christmas bonus."
Yeah, Christmas, when love becomes conditional.
It definitely reinforces the belief that Santa knows what you've been doing, and he's like, "Oh, here's my network of spies." I think for me, I am intrigued by the aspect that you have to keep moving him around. Like, you're not supposed to, I guess, keep him on one shelf. Each day you change. Like, I'm looking forward in part to that aspect of like, oh, how can I get really clever with it?
Yeah.
I say this now before I've done it for 30 days in the next couple of years. But like, I'm sure by year 4, and you're just like, listen, he sits on a shelf in the same place. He's not going anyplace.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll break his leg.
I got enough.
Put him on crutches and be like, look what happened to him when he tried to move.
Look what he saw you were doing something bad, and he tried to jump down to stop you.
Self-harmed himself.
And he broke his neck. Now he's in a wheelchair. I hope you're happy now.
Happy.
No, you know what? If you're relying on a goddamn stuffed elf to keep your kids in line, maybe you need to look at yourself as a parent.
Well, that brings up my next pick.
All right.
Which is the Krampus.
The Krampus.
Richard kind of talked about this, or almost got to the Krampus earlier when he was talking about the demons that followed Santa Claus around.
Yeah.
The Krampus is a demon himself, this horned goat sort of creature that, unlike other like weird German, Eastern winter demons.
Yeah.
He's like pals with Santa Claus.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
Okay.
apparently. He's the guy that goes around, like Richard says, for that other guy. All of like these kind of Eastern traditional or Eastern European traditional kind of demons. They go around and they're either good to you or they beat you mercilessly with a stick.
Yeah.
And he's one of those that would go around, and if you're bad, you get visited by Krampus, but if you're good, the next day Saint Nick is coming around to give you a gift. That's how you know. I think for the longest time, he seemed like a character that you only discovered because of the internet. Like, growing up, there was no like Krampus going up. You didn't. He was only like a folklore, and like you had to be within the culture. And then maybe around like 2000, the 2000s, and the internet, like it was like, oh yeah, you've heard about like Krampus, right? And like, no. I was like, oh, here's this character that seems impossible.
Yeah.
I had this thought about, too, there was an episode of The Office where Dwight comes in and he's dressed up as like Berschnickel, who's just like another version of Krampus, who's like this guy that beats you mercilessly with a swatch, a switch. Yeah.
If
he beats you with a swatch, you've been good because you get to wear the swatch.
You get to wear colored samples.
How many black men are involved in this? Are there 6 to 8 of them, or just 1, 0?
Just one demon. Just one demon-looking dude that's kind of small and just kind of,
Is it Kane? The demon Kane?
But like, so
that'd be scary.
So Dwight was dressed up as this character of Berschnickel, and I thought like, oh, this is such a made-up thing for The Office.
Yeah,
this is just like a really good writing staff coming up with like. But no, when I was looking up characters, it's one of these traditional like German folklore guys as well. So along with him and the Krampus, and he's just there to kind of make sure you stay good. It's like the two sides of the coin. Saint Nicholas, he gives you the gifts, but if you're a bad kid, you get you get taken away by this demon.
Jen and I went to some Krampusspiele, Krampus plays at this church in Pasadena, I think 2 years ago, and it was. Each scenario was somewhat like a Grimm's fairy tale. It's like Hansel and Gretel, where there's two babes in the woods who are wandering away from their family, and that's one cardinal sin. But then the Krampus comes out and kind of questions whether they've been good or bad this year, whether their core, their identity is good or bad. And there's some very elaborate, as you can imagine, in L.A., some people who are related to like the film or visual effects center created these very elaborate Krampus costumes. And that Krampus mobile, this car that was like one of those things that Jay Leno rides around.
I was going to say, you want to get the Krampus mobile over here. We're going to be taking it. Bob's the big boy.
I do like that St. Nicholas and Krampus do like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, totally. You know, they
get you in a room and they start sweating you out.
Yeah, it is kind of like Batman and Joker.
And then Santa comes over. Look, I don't want to be. Look, but this other guy, Krampus, he's.
Yeah,
you don't want to mess with him. You want to go on his bad side.
But that there are actually some legit evil kids, and Krampus gets them, and St. Nick is like, "Fuck yeah, man, take care of those. They're yours, brother. You got them."
What do you want me to do? My hands are tied.
But imagine the people who go to Burning Man or do Ren Fair. That's those people who like to do the Krampus spiel stuff. They were definitely some interesting cats. That brings us to our halftime. And at this halftime, I want to invite you to give yourself a holiday present. You don't even have to buy it. For listeners of the Mount Rushmore podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out what they do. And maybe you could check out The Man Who Invented Christmas, how Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol rescued his career and revived our holiday spirits by Les Stanford. That book, or 180,000 other titles you can choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle player, MP3 player, or Atari 2600, or in television. As Richard mentioned, it is available on television with Yar's Revenge.
Oh, man. I love that game. I was playing. Actually, you know what? I was playing that game at my sister's house over Thanksgiving.
Seriously?
Yeah, but she has one of those like now you can buy like the fake Ataris that have like
emulator
80 games. Well, yeah, they have like 80 games loaded on it. You buy it at like Costco or whatever. It's not very good. Well,
no.
That's the best game that they have.
Yeah.
Yar's Revenge is the one game that you could actually play and it's like playable.
Cool.
Everything else was trash.
Yar's Revenge, the senior programmer, first name was Ray. So
they flipped it.
He flipped his name. That's his Easter egg. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Rushmore for your free audiobook. You know what else is free? Our podcast. And you would want more free, right? So don't just listen to this episode. Go download all the past episodes from iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get podcasts, and do us a solid. This will be your holiday gift to us, is give us a review. It doesn't have to be a glowing one.
Doesn't cost you anything.
Doesn't cost you anything.
Christmas time can be very expensive. This is free to us.
Totally free.
And also free to you.
Yeah, and it helps.
And you get, it's worth every penny that you spend.
Worth every penny, indeed. So yeah, please go do that, and we'd appreciate it. And we are back. Richard, you're the little kid who still believes, so you get to go.
So I'm glad that you brought up A Christmas Carol and Dickens and Scrooge, because that's my next choice.
Oh, okay.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Nice.
And there's a few things we need to talk about with Scrooge. Well, first off, I felt like we had to choose him because there's no Christmas tale that is more stock at this point. Yeah, I think we need to talk about Scrooge because I think A Christmas Carol is, I don't even want to say cliched. I think it's the most copied and stock.
A very special
story.
Episode of whatever sitcom they reenact.
Yeah, I've got a checklist here. So, are you a sitcom? Check. Are you not very funny? Check.
Do you have a great big fat actor that you can get to dress to play Christmas Bass?
Yeah. Check. Let's see. Are you past season 8 and you've officially run out of ideas in season 6? Check. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's I'm on the
drugs.
What's that nerd show? What's that nerd show that's so popular? I'm sure they've done
Big Bang Theory.
I'm sure they've done it.
100%.
That's how they got young Sheldon.
Sheldon was like, I don't believe in it because the facts say that there's science behind this, and I'm looking at this list of adaptations, and look, I believe that if you were to just go outside and walk a 3-block radius around your house, someone is putting on a production of Scrooge or filming one here in Los Angeles right now.
Let's do it, guys. Let's go.
Let's go for it. There's so many goddamn versions of Scrooge.
Yeah.
And whether it's a straight retelling of Scrooge, whether it involves a Muppet,
Yeah.
or a beloved Disney character.
Mr. Magoo.
Or Mr. Magoo.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure Tom and Jerry did one, for God's sakes. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Or some sort of like, we're going to do a twist on it. Like whether it's Scrooged or...
The unauthorized porn parodies.
Screwed. Screwed. Bugs Bunny's Christmas Carol. There's just so many of these where it's just like... There is something about... I'm trying to figure out what it is about this story that...
So you've proven that it's ubiquitous, and so you're leaning towards getting the point as it is, but you're about to say what the compelling nature is.
Well, I guess I'm trying... I need your guys' help to figure this out a little bit.
It's time travel. It's a ghost story.
Right. It's about redemption.
Yeah, I think we are drawn to stories of personal transformation, and A Christmas Carol was one of the original montage sequences. We see a person going through this transformation that happens to him overnight, and we as individuals who are drawn to storytelling because it shows people getting better and improving, and we don't want to do that ourselves.
It's such a movie about, or not a movie, but it's such a story about self-reflection. And like, I know we live in a pretty tense political time, and there's just like half of the country has no sense of self-reflection.
Yeah.
It's a movie that really speaks to looking at who you are and looking at who you were and looking at who you're gonna be and coming back to that and being like, oh, I'm this awful person, but I can definitely change.
Yeah.
Things might not have gone the way that they wanted them to.
Yeah.
And I am who I am now, but the future doesn't have to be what it is.
Yeah.
I can do this. And it's all through this just lens of just like,
Yeah.
Christmas and the time that like, oh yeah, you can do this right now. And,
Yeah. It's redemption and restoration, because like Scrooge is a sinner and has done horrible things, and he's redeemed because he later shows kindness. Mm-hmm. And it's also restoration because Scrooge becomes a child again at the end and dances around as a nightgown and becomes this youthful, exuberant person who we saw as a kid before his crashing disappointment.
My dad every year watches the 1951 Alistair Sim.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a favorite one.
Scrooge. He has to watch it every year. Mm-hmm. And it's, he's born in 1946, so he was like 5 years old when it came out. So it's amazing to think of something that has such an impact on him since when, for the past 65 years or however long it's been, to be like, it's, this is the thing that he definitely has to do and loves doing.
I have something similar, but for me, it's the episode of The Real Ghostbusters where they go back to Victorian England and wind up accidentally busting the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Then they have to figure out how to still get Scrooge to see the light.
I love that.
It involves Slimer.
Yeah, it's a very...
That's a real episode, by the way. I didn't just pull that out.
I believe you.
It
sounds like actually a really good story.
Some of the other ones that we've had is we had Scrooge, which of course was the Bill Murray version of it.
Love that one.
We had Martin, where Martin was a black Scrooge, I guess. Never watched that. Sorry. You had A Diva's Christmas Carol, which is a Vanessa Williams as a diva from a singing group. Mm-hmm. You had A Carol Christmas with an arrogant TV star played by Tori Spelling. You had, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, An American Carol, which is the really bad Abrams Zucker, like when they became conservatives.
Oh.
And hired Chris Farley's brother to basically play Michael Moore.
Mm-hmm. In 7 years, the Trump Christmas Carol is going to be amazing.
Lit. We got a zombie Scrooge. I've got a Klingon Christmas Carol. I've got the Doctor Who Christmas Carol. Batman Noel. There's a Batman version of Christmas Carol. So it's just something that seems like...
I hope that Batman realizes that he's done nothing wrong and he's going to proceed this way forever.
Self-righteous vigilante
is
completely without sin.
I still wish my parents were dead so I can still crush the Joker's face.
And it ends with him trapped inside the casket, and he just finds a way to get out.
Of course he gets out.
He's fucking Batman.
Yeah.
So it's
Screw you, casket.
Scrooge's ubiquity...
It just play you can take, and I think part of the reason why it gets reused so many times is that you can take existing characters and just sort of retrofit them to whatever means or needs that you need them to be to make that story work. One last thing about Scrooge, and I'm going to ask you guys this because KPCC, when the Off Ramp show was on the air, they did a thing about this. Is Scrooge kind of anti-Semitic? The story, because you're talking about like a skinflint, like super tight, old man who is only redeemed because then he learns to believe in Christmas, i.e., the Christian tradition.
From what I know, and I think this is what The Man Who Invented Christmas is about, is at that time in industrialized England, nobody was Christian. Nobody believed in Christmas. And even though A Christmas Carol portrays these two families, the Cratchits and the Fezziwigs, as celebrating Christmas, even though one is poor and the other is wealthy, they each keep the warmth of Christmas in their hearts. There was nobody like that in England, but there were in German countries where Dickens had visited.
Okay.
And so here was a nation that had turned itself into an industrial power at the cost of every part of their social core.
Right.
So everybody was working, and there was just the social core of this country had been damaged, and children were working in factories and whatever. And so it wasn't, in the reality, Scrooge was being shown the Fezziwigs and the Cratchits by this ghost and saying, this is how you should be.
Right.
Those people weren't even there. Dickens was saying to everybody in England, this is how it is in Germany. This is how we should be in England. And this is better than just pursuing commerce.
So you're saying it's better to be a Christian than a Jew, is what I'm getting out of this?
Do we say Jesus? Is there Jesus in...
I don't know.
I realize it's Christmas.
I think Richard's riding this pretty hard.
Well, no, like I said, this came up on Off Ramp. This is something that, and there is a streak of anti-Semitism in Dickens' work. Fagin is basically the caricature.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not. I have never thought about it that way, and I wouldn't put it.
Now
past.
you will.
And now, unfortunately, you've tainted
it. So a guy like Marley was more like Shylock from. Shakespeare. He was a money lender and a money grubber, and
so was Scrooge. I mean, Scrooge was when the way he's described is like kind of this hunched, like very like all he cares about is money.
Oh, okay.
And then it requires his redemption to like adopt quote unquote Christian values.
Okay.
There's a great. Have you seen a Blackadder Christmas Carol?
Yes,
it's perfect. Basically, the Blackadder in that it's like Dickensian. And he's this shop owner who is so kind of heart. He gives out presents to everyone, and he's very welcoming to all the people that visit his shop. And by the end of it, he gets turned upside down, and he turns into this miserly thing, and resolves to be just horrible to everyone and to take all the money. And it's just a nice flip on Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah. How many was it?
Ebenezer Blackadder, I think they call him. It's so dumb.
When was this? Late 19th century? I forget when Christmas Carol was.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. It's 1843.
Oh, okay. It's like 200 years earlier, Shakespeare had started to really create these characters who we understood their psychology, and here is one of these stories that has a flashback to the moment where Scrooge became his adult self. Was when he's had the misunderstood and spurred affections of Belle, or I forget the little girl that he's in love with.
Right.
So I think that's a fascinating thing where we show what turned him down to the path of just loving money versus loving people. And that's I think an interesting component of this story, that he has a psychological reality that we are shown, and that every skinflint perhaps wasn't always in love with money, and this is the moment that turned him towards that. And that's his creation myth, like a superhero movie.
Also, there's the Thomas the Tank Engine, Scrooge. They want it being a 2-part episode, which makes me wonder, why did you need 2 parts of Thomas the Tank Engine to tell the story? Was it that like complex?
The goose is the one as big as me. Yes, boy. Is it still available? Okay.
I'm just gonna cook you up and eat you instead. Deal with that, boy.
Michael, what's your
third? My third choice is
Scrooge.
The leg lamp, the major prize.
Oh, awesome!
From A Christmas Story.
Is that a character? We're calling that an icon.
It's an icon.
Yeah,
it's an ornament hanging on people's trees and.
Okay, that's what you do.
If it only said characters in the description, I would have just chosen a character. But Jeff, he unspooled his line a little more.
He gave you the out.
Designed by Reuben Freed, the production designer.
Oh.
Oh, Reuben Freed.
famous leg lamp production designer.
Oh, okay.
This was
Bass player for Thin Lizzy and production designer.
This is from the 1983 movie A Christmas Story, which has become a mainstay in our homes. It's forced upon you by TBS and plays for 24 hours. I love the lamp as an icon of like an unknown want. Like throughout the movie, what's the boy's name?
Ralphie.
Ralphie. He wants this Red Ryder BB gun. He wants this thing like nothing else. Asks everyone for it. But when the old man gets this thing, this random prize that you assume from some sort of drawing that he entered, a major prize.
Yeah.
He covets this thing. He loves this thing more than anything. He didn't know he wanted it, but he gets it, and it's just like this. It's this thing in his world that has fixed him.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the thing that his wife hates because it's gaudy and awful.
Yeah.
But it's just this great, iconic thing from this now kind of cherished and beloved Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That you see everywhere. Like eventually, when everything was turned into a toy, or in kind of 2000. Let's say 2005 was when they realized, we can just take everything that's ever been put on TV and make it into a Funko.
Yeah, there's this
whatever.
place called China that'll do whatever we want cheaply.
This lamp and this thing became like such a fond reminder of this movie, which is in itself of just a great fond reminder of Christmas.
I think that most nostalgia, there's a lot of Christmas that is about your past and nostalgia for it, and Christmas is like summer camp in that you forget the bad ones and you remember the good ones, and it's often portrayed in the sunny, warm glow of perfection. That movie had the most imperfect people celebrating the most imperfect Christmas. They were middle to lower class. They had a car that wouldn't start and a furnace that wouldn't work, and a dad who cursed up a storm and had tawdry taste.
Yeah.
And a mom who was beautiful, but she was always in her bathrobe. She wasn't June Cleaver. So that's one thing I think that is the setting for the jewel of that lamp, because it just had this wonderful imperfection and goofiness that made it, and the ridiculousness of that prop, a mannequin leg with a stocking and a heel.
It's delightful and awful at the same time.
Yeah.
And it might have been like a family that had some sort of class, but all of that like falls away. He's probably very conservative in his thinking, but he won this thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to go in the in the main room and shine out to the street, and he's so proud of it. And just that moment when everyone else is standing out and looking at it, and they're like, "What is that?" He's like, "What do you mean? What is that? It's a major award."
Fragile.
It could be
Darren McGavran plays it so well.
Could be a bowling alley.
Yeah.
that is the best line.
Yeah, it is.
That's the best line, maybe, of the entire movie. Who knows what? I heard someone won a bowl. It could be a bowling alley.
How could they ship you a bowling alley? I don't know. They could send the deed.
All right, Ricardo.
Okay, we're going to talk about the greatest Christmas movie of all time now. Die Hard.
Okay.
All right. And this has gained so much more notoriety.
I think that there is a steadfastness, and I think I love this movie as a great action movie that takes place at Christmas. And the argument that it could not be, this is the argument that the other side takes, which is, it's obviously the best Christmas movie. It's obviously a Christmas movie because you could have written a whole number of other situations that could have gotten him out to Nakatomi Plaza. It didn't have to be Christmas.
Arbor
it just
Day.
happened to be Christmas.
It was written so we're talking about John McClane. So let's get that out of the way, right? There's a ton of Christmas references in there. Mm-hmm. There's, not only is it now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho.
Does not prove or disprove anything.
Hans. It's Christmas, Theo. It's the time of miracles. Mm-hmm. There's a night they reference the night before Christmas. And who is John McClane if not someone who is bringing a gift to the people in Nakatomi Plaza? The gift of freedom.
Yeah.
Is there any gift that could be more precious than that, Michael? And
the
he's not-
hoverboards are pretty good.
Yeah, so they catch fire though. That's the
Those
problem.
Gift of Freedom, you could wear that. You could ride one of those
Just
around.
like clean towels or
Furbies.
sheets.
We did a whole episode.
Yeah.
About Christmas
or
toys.
a gift card for freedom.
Gift
Because
card
they're
for-
free. You can get it where freedom or Visa. You could buy
some
freedom.
Freedom
fries,
or
lots
whatever
of
else
freedom
you
there.
want. Yeah.
What makes it?
And what is he doing? He's literally. Maybe they don't have a chimney at Nakatomi Plaza. They have HVAC vents. He's crawling around up there. That's as close as we're going to get to a chimney. He's crawling around in the heating ducts and systems. He's basically Santa,
Yeah.
is what he is, and he's bringing you the gift of freedom.
Okay.
And I'm with you. I love this movie. It's my favorite action
It's incredible.
movie of all time, probably full stop.
Yeah.
And it is on the list of movies that we watch every Christmas.
I would say Alan Rickman's character does have a little bit of the Alistair Sims kind of sneer to him.
Right, or a Grinch-like quality to
The
him.
original last name is Krampus.
Is that?
Oh, there we
bomb
go.
dropped.
Uh-oh.
Bomb dropped.
Proved my point wrong, apparently.
And also John McClane isn't one of the classic Christmassy type stories that it's the dad or the parents or somebody who is just trying to get home to their kids,
Estranged
trying to get their
family
family together
Yeah.
there for the holidays, and that's really what John McClane is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a pregnant lady there.
Mm-hmm.
There is a pregnant lady there.
Look at the list of how people who defend this movie as like the best Christmas movie of all time
There's
have
a pregnant
to,
lady?
have to write down and be like all these unique coincidences. If this happened, if this took place during his daughter's birthday, let's say that he had been called out because he hasn't seen his family in forever, and it was his daughter's birthday, and it was also taking place during this major like acquisition, and that's why this party is. This movie is exactly the same.
I don't think it is. I don't think it works as well.
It doesn't have a guy in a ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun.
Therefore,
but it does.
Therefore, it doesn't work as well, Michael.
Well-
I think you just played yourself.
The many sequels have copied the same format as the original.
Yeah, Die Hard 2 is also
Takes place during Easter.
Die Hard 2 was not Easter.
Die Hard 3 takes place during, I think,
Arbor
Boxing
Day.
what's
Day.
the Leprechaun Day? That one.
Yeah.
Arbor Day.
Yeah.
I think it's Arbor Day.
Okay.
I think John McClane
All the
is just
trees.
trying to save a tree.
Is Yakatomi Plaza
Nakatomi.
Nakatomi.
Yakatomi
Yakitori.
Smirnoff is was a great comedian.
And Yakitori Plaza is just where they serve very delicious, grilled chicken and stuff.
Sakatumi Plaza, where Aretha Franklin just says that over and over again. You just pay your respects. It's
And
Sakatumi Plaza.
also the ghost of Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Sock it to me.
To me. Okay. So point
I don't
made.
know. I don't know. We can have this argument back and forth. I feel very strongly it is a Christmas movie that you don't have to really go that far to get the traditional Christmas themes
I think you said
from Christmas in what is happening in the story, and it snows in the end.
There you go. I think you want to say traditional. Like McClane is kind of in pursuit of the life that he had, or seems a person who has not moved on from that, and so it seems like what he's trying to do is kind of reclaim some of the tradition that he had or the life that he had before. So that's in that a lot of us are trying to get home for the holidays. It seems like what he's really trying to do. So yeah, I buy that.
I mean, people who don't think it's a Christmas movie, I hear you, but you're wrong.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Not the way that works, but
Yeah. You know what I would also say? Scrooge, the Bill Murray film,
Yeah.
is really pretty much the same film as Groundhog Day.
There's similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could see. That's another one of the movies that we watch every Christmas are Christmas Story, obviously. Scrooged.
it's part of the new tax plan now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just passed. You have to watch a Christmas
Is that
Story.
written in there?
Yeah, by law.
Yeah.
Right, right in the
Emmanuel
margins.
on Taboo Island.
Yeah. Die Hard. And
Yeah.
then The Ref.
The Ref.
With
never seen that.
With Dennis Leary.
We'll have to add that.
Oh, check that out this year. Except
There's
it's
a-
got Kevin Spacey in it, so you can't watch it.
Oh,
now.
shit.
So sorry.
Okay. Am I correct that this is
My last-
closing arguments have not been made because Michael's going to give his last?
My last one is the Chrome-ass broken down tree from A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, boy, sad. I'm getting a little choked up here already, Michael.
You mentioned, we were talking about how the over-commercialization of Christmas is kind of dominates everything.
Yeah.
This movie speaks to it directly.
Yeah.
Where Charlie Brown sees the beauty in the only real tree in like a fake used tree or a fake Christmas tree lot. He's like, yeah, just because it's, doesn't have any, pine needles on it, and just because it's kind of shabby doesn't mean that it's not a Christmas tree, and doesn't mean that it doesn't represent something special.
Yeah.
Of course, he brings it back to his school and is immediately torn apart by his awful friends.
Yeah.
Who hate him, probably. I mean, they hate Charlie Brown, right? They don't like him in any way. He's just the kid that has a cool dog.
Yeah. I imagine Charlie Brown smells like tuna, or there's something weird about him. Yeah.
But he sees like the beauty in it, and he, does its. he does.
Took a second for that to hit me, Jeff. Sorry.
Okay.
He does his best to dress it up using like an ornament. But of course, I think that one of the most iconic things about that movie is the image of the single bulb holding this tree over.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad and pathetic. And he tries so hard to gussy it up, and he just can't. He's trying to get through to all of his friends, the true meaning of Christmas. And there's the great Linus kind of soliloquy.
Yeah. Lights, please. And then
And eventually the kids do come around, and they are able to give something to it and put some effort into it and see the specialness of this tree. Of course, they kind of like just put a bunch of makeup on it.
Yeah.
They kind of just change it from what it is into something a little bit more standard. But that movie and just the scene and the image of this one kid trying to rally against all that is commercial about Christmas and get back to a truer meaning of it, I think is pretty important.
It's an interesting movie to watch with the kids being an atheist. And then we get to the lights, please. And Linus giving the whole by biblical
Gospel of Luke.
Yeah, it's when I watch that, it's like, I understand the point behind it. I understand. I respect it, and I'm not like angry about it. But it's kind of weird to watch it like with your kids when it might as well be like something from the Quran or something for my kids to watch it. Yeah, like it's just something every year for the first few years, like Vivian watches, I was like, what's he talking about?
It could be Shakespeare or Chaucer. It could be something.
It's not that it wasn't interesting or important or vital or beautiful or anything like that. It was just something that like my family has no connection to that part of it. And just there's no way in hell you could have gotten that would have passed muster today.
That was for me. The tree is the figure of the Christ child, as Linus says in his monologue. It's like at the end, he says, "And this shall be a sign unto you: ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger." The austerity that is the core of our family celebrations should have this simplicity and austerity, not be about the exchange of goods and value and all these other trappings.
Because the Charlie Brown Christmas is as much as anything else about the commercialization of Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is ironic since the Charlie Brown Christmas special has probably made about $1 billion.
$1 billion.
For Charles Schultz over the last 50 years in his estate and whatever.
The one thing always threw me off about that, because Charlie Brown is kind of, in the comics, noted sad sack whose intentions are usually pretty good. In this special, he's the director of the play, and he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like he's shouting directions.
Well, because he lets it get to his head.
Yeah.
It's like he has a little bit of power.
Yeah.
And he let it get to his head. This is how sexual harassment happens in Hollywood.
He's the Harvey Weinstein of this special. But I feel like he gets everything he gets, he deserves absolutely, and it reveals his tenuous character that makes like maybe a lot of Charlie Brown's maybe the cloud that
it's kind of a callback to the original like 50s Charlie Brown, where the kids were a lot meaner and Charlie Brown was kind of a clod.
Oh, okay.
So it feels like a little bit of a callback to that. I also just want to call out the my favorite is just Lucy talking about how it's all a big racket controlled by an Eastern syndicate. Yeah, this is perhaps my favorite line of anything that happens in any Christmas pop culture thing ever.
Your surrogate is definitely Lucy.
Yeah, I am Lucy.
You're here trying to call out all the bullshit in the world. Last episodes we talked about imposters,
possibly interested in grifting people. I'll wear that. I'll wear that. No problems there.
The doctor is in.
That's a fun pick, and that there's so much I love. Notwithstanding the tree, notwithstanding about the special, just one of the first times children actors were used as in voices in an animation, and it wasn't, June Foray or Dawes Butler, these adult actors playing children. Actual children were voicing children. And I think even at that time, the mention of a religious verse and using children, those were a couple elements that made people think this was a little bit transgressive.
CBS freaked out about the biblical verse, and they wanted it taken out. And maybe the sponsor did too. And Charles Schultz put his foot down. It was like, no, we're going to leave this in here, and if you don't like it, you cannot run it.
I think they even figured economically it was impossible to change it. We can't. It's not like they had South Park digital animation back then.
It took 6 months to do this thing. Now you want to excise 5 minutes from it?
We can't do that a week before air. So
I do like when they redid the movie, they reanimated it and had a rap at the end.
Yeah, that was so cool.
When Linus and Schroeder were just...
You're really itching to do your Rushmore of movies that have a rap that explain the movie, right?
Men in Black.
Adam's Family?
Adam's Family.
Values, right?
The first one.
What was the first one or the second one?
The first one was done by Hammer.
Was there? There's one in the second one, wasn't there?
There might have been.
Who knows?
Will Smith's Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
A lot of these feature Will Smith. LL Cool J.
Was it the shark movie? Deep Blue or whatever it was called.
It was called. My hand is like a shark's fin. It was the song.
Requiem.
These are the things that I just keep in my head. This is how Mount Rushmore started. I know we're at the end of season 2 coming up, and these are the things that are just I just have a list of 4 or 5 things in my head that is just all right, if I ever need to pull this out, I got them, and then we can go from there.
A list in search of
a theme.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I just want to say happy holidays to both of you.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Happy holidays.
I'm about to give one of you a present.
Ooh, my.
Okay, get ready to unwrap some points. So one of the best things I've loved about this was the depiction of Yukon Cornelius as this kind of millennial urban hipster, with the beard and
iron and wine, basically.
Yeah, totally iron and wine. Ray LaMontagne, kind of just that feel.
He does look like he does some artisanal cheeses or something.
Yeah, he's in Portland. He runs a unicycle repair shop or something like that, or he
goes to Timbers games on the weekend. Yeah.
He'll tighten your suspenders, but he calls them braces. So there's a point for that. And man, leg lamp, kind of love that one. The term unknown want I thought was really cool because it does reveal Ralphie's obsession is very focused and laser-sighted on this thing. And here's his father who, due to his role as provider for this family, no longer gets to have any wants anymore.
The best thing is that the gift that he does get is a bowling ball that his wife just drops right into his crotch at the end.
And it's wrapped like a bowling ball.
He never asked for a bowling ball. He's just yeah, okay.
Yes, it's perfect, honey.
Ooh, yeah.
And this tells a lot about, I think, your new status as father, Michael, because now you realize that your wishes have been put to the side. You are a service vehicle for driving your child off into his future. Okay, and I also dug the Charlie Brown Christmas. That was really compelling to me, specifically the tree. And what the fuck, it's Christmas. Die Hard. So we go out of this episode.
Thank you. It's a Christmas movie. Thank you.
And even 2 and 2. And we thank you, folks. It has been our gift, of course, and our privilege to always do this podcast. And happy holidays. I've been Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.